The easiest way to waste your SaaS marketing budget is still following outdated strategies. I've seen SaaS companies burn massive budgets on generic cold email with barely any return on investment, or just doing content hopping or optimizing for SEO. Look, the fastest growing SaaS companies are not following the advice everyone keeps sharing. I know because I've run over $10 million in campaigns and worked for Sony, Silicon Valley startups, and Google affiliated SaaS firms. In this video, 7 strategies that have generated over $200,000 for SaaS companies I've worked with. The first strategy is app marketplaces, digital platforms for distributing software. Competing on Google is brutal for most SaaS startups. Even if you do everything right, it takes a long time or a lot of money to get to the top of Google search. But app marketplaces are completely different. The algorithms are pretty basic. Stuff in the right keywords, accumulate enough reviews, and you can climb to the top fast. The people finding you there are already in the buying mindset, which makes converting them a lot easier than converting cold traffic. It's like setting up a stall in a mall that already has tons of traffic. Consider Salesforce App Exchange, Shopify App Store, Apps.com, AppSumo, the Chrome Web Store, etc. There's certainly a marketplace where your buyers are already shopping. You can also get creative, scour job listings, for example. If a company is posting a job for a Reddit marketing manager, there's a good chance they're already looking for tools to solve that problem. Or go to platforms where businesses hire Shopify consultants, WS specialists, HubSpot partners. These are people who could recommend your product to every client that they work with. Many marketers focus only on cold attention, when warm attention already exists somewhere. Getting in front of more high-intent leads is the fastest way to scale. I tested so many strategies for this, and here's what's worked for me. First place is Google. Yeah, I know, I said in the beginning that SEO takes forever, but this specific strategy is a totally different method. Instead of traditional SEO, use YouTube videos, especially vertical shorts, to rank on Google quickly. And rather than running direct response ads trying to get immediate conversions, you need to run YouTube ads designed to get more engaged viewers watching your video. That video then climbs Google rankings for your category keywords. I've had SaaS clients show up at the top of Google for major keywords within days of doing this. Reddit is another approach. There are threads dedicated to helping people make purchase decisions in almost every software category. For example, email marketing tools. And those threads often rank near the top of Google and AI search, which means that you end up visible both on Reddit, Google search results, and AI answers for people who are actively deciding what to buy. Optimizing for clicks and traffic will often fail to get you customers. But after weeks or months of seeing your name show up in the right places, people will definitely buy. These 2 channels work because they put you in front of someone at the exact moment they're already convinced they need to act. If you are still avoiding cold emails, thinking it's saturated or illegal, you are missing out. Yes, the era of sending generic cold emails and booking demos are over, but cold emails are still generating solid results for me because I use a different approach that works for the current market. The reason most cold emails fail has nothing to do with the channel itself, it's the approach. Aggressive pushes for 15-minute calls don't work. Generic templates written for a persona rather than a real person don't work. What actually works is a softer approach. You create interest first rather than immediately trying to get someone on a call. Instead of writing your first email as a template, write it to a specific real person. Make it specific to their goals, pain points, and dreams. You can turn it into a template later. Test different angles to get a lot of positive replies. These can all be automated with tools like Lemlist, which also works for LinkedIn, and Woodpecker, Outbound, etc. For building the list, I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for finding prospects, Scrap.io for extracting emails, Bouncer for cleaning the list. Then I import all of that into a sequencing tool. And once you have that list, you can do something most people don't think about. Upload it directly into Facebook and LinkedIn ad targeting. So the same decision maker receiving your email is also seeing your ads. Add direct mail on top of that for your highest value targets, and you have a multi-channel sequence hitting the same person from multiple directions simultaneously. That level of repetition changes how they perceive your brand. Since I mentioned direct mail just now, let me go deeper into that. The key thing to understand is that some physical channels have very little competition. A thoughtful, unexpected package landing on a decision maker's desk creates a completely different psychological response than another email in an already cluttered inbox. But there is a caveat. This works best for enterprise B2B SaaS, mid-market, or high-value partners. And to do it properly, you should send boxes that are filled with gifts and promotional messaging designed to get people into sales conversations. One of my clients used this with completely cold prospects and got a 50% conversion rate to sales. I used this technique to land interviews in major publications and built relationships that could have taken months with traditional outreach. You can sweeten the deal further by offering to literally pay the prospect for a 15-minute demo, then follow up with an email after the package arrives. Yes, it's going to cost more per contact than cold email, but if you're getting 50% conversion rates instead of 2%, the math works out very differently. This next strategy is a bit more unconventional, but especially if you're an early stage SaaS, you can afford to experiment aggressively. It may be worth testing out something bold, creative, and unconventional, something competitors wouldn't be willing to try. It's hard to play by the same rules as established billion-dollar companies. For example, I made a ranking of the top providers in my industry and put my business at the top. Then I ran Bing ads to that list. Brex saturated billboards in the San Francisco Bay Area where most of their prospects were concentrated. Tools like Multi-Login and Endgain allow you to boost the popularity of your posts, comments, etc. to make you seem large and well-established. As an early stage company, you have one major advantage. You can make quick, bold moves that bigger companies can't. On to the sixth strategy. Before, I mentioned YouTube briefly, but it deserves more than just a mention. Most of the contracts I personally get now don't require sales calls at all because prospects watch my videos, which had already built trust. But most SaaS marketers make the mistake of treating YouTube as a direct response channel. Run an ad, get clicks, make sales. So what's the issue with that approach? That model is designed for consumer products, so it doesn't fit how SaaS buying decisions actually happen. Nobody watches a 30-second YouTube ad and immediately decides to migrate their entire CRM stack. The sales cycle is much longer, and the attribution is messier than most marketers want to admit. The better way to think about YouTube is as an investment that keeps paying returns over time. A video published today will still be working 6 months from now, still building your presence in search results, still influencing people who are slowly moving towards a purchase. YouTube Shorts is surprisingly uncompetitive and can easily build SEO performance and reach. This was my first recommendation to a friend who just started his business. YouTube advertising is cheaper than most people realize for what it can actually accomplish, mainly because the majority of advertisers are optimizing for direct response metrics and ignoring the brand building value entirely. That's an arbitrage opportunity. The goal with YouTube, as with all of this, is to become the name that people think of first when they need what you offer. That kind of influence doesn't show up cleanly in attribution models, but it drives revenue. Partnerships are probably my favorite strategy on this list. Most SaaS marketing is what I'd call direct to buyer. You identify a prospect, market to them, try to convert them. That's fine, but it's expensive and it doesn't scale particularly well. It's often better to do what I call indirect marketing. In other words, going through partners to reach your customers. For example, buyers already trust their CRM, their practice management software, their web hosting provider, their accounting software, etc. If you market through them, you can leverage trust and scale. There are two major types of partnerships. The first is partnerships with other tech companies. For example, I work for a Series A SaaS that secured an exclusive contract with Intuit. That kind of partnership can quadruple your customer base. I also work for a dictation software company that partnered with a dictation microphone company. Bear in mind, partnerships don't have to be huge undertakings. For example, I once partnered with a company just to do a webinar for Amazon sellers. This company had a larger audience than we did, so I was able to get far wider reach. One of the reasons that partnerships work so well is because you can concentrate your marketing efforts on a handful of partners instead of millions of potential customers. The second type of partnership is with influencers, and these don't have to be people with large social media followings. Influencers offer three distinct things that your company may be lacking. Number one, world-class content that grabs attention and influences people. Two, distribution to a wide audience. And three, a personal brand that persuades people. You can leverage all of these. When I market dictation software for veterinarians, I use Sparktorio to identify the top podcasters in that industry, reaching out directly, and I gave them free access to the software. And it worked. Before you know it, we were showing up in the top podcasts in the space. The accountants, IT consultants, and agencies who advise your buyers are influencers too, even if they don't have YouTube channels. They have direct trust with the person making the purchase decision, and winning them over is far more efficient than trying to reach the end buyer directly. In my experience, this is more scalable than direct-to-buyer marketing, and partnerships let you borrow trust, distribution, and attention instead of building all of these from scratch. This is especially important if your customer lifetime value is low. Those are the 7 strategies. Most SaaS marketing treats buyers like they're one click away from a decision, but most software isn't bought that way. SaaS is purchased after someone's seen your name enough times in enough places that you become the obvious choice. That's what these strategies build, a presence that make the sale feel inevitable by the time someone lands on your page. If you want the full system behind this, the exact frameworks I used at Sony, inside Google affiliated startups, and across dozens of SaaS companies, I put together a complete marketing training covering demand gen, partnerships, LinkedIn cold email, ABM, all of it. Check the links in the description or contact me on LinkedIn if you want help.